Yeah, it's got a really distinctive flavor, that, doesn't it? It sort of sounds very much like it's alluding to something. And you read about this movement, and it's been compared to a kind of pastoral or a folk. People have likened it to a musette, which is well, it refers to the bagpipe instrument, but it has this kind of long association with drones being folk music, being kind of Arcadian, otherworldly bliss. But I have a feeling about this tune as well, that it actually sounds just as much like hurdy-gurdy music, which is a completely different kind of expression, because the hurdy, and I have one here, and I owe this to my colleague Eric Jobag, who's very kindly lent me his homemade hurdy-gurdy, complete with fishing wire for strings. So typical of the hurdy-gurdy, it's got this circular bow, and this was very much a street instrument of Beethoven's day. So this is a kind of instrument you might hear on the street by a kind of busker. When you think of that final song in Schubert's Winterreise with the hurdy-gurdy player and his miserable little tray that no one's leaving coins for him, that's kind of typical hurdy-gurdy feeling, is that it's cheap and nasty a little bit, or at least not your kind of elevated ballroom orchestra. But that drone, I think, works quite well on this particular tune.
That's magnificent. I mean, that is totally brilliant. No one's ever going to want to hear that tune on the violin again, I'm afraid.
I mean, is there any way you could make your violin sound more hurdy-gurdy like? Restring it with fishing wire.
I don't know. It's tricky because Beethoven's also marked it dolce for me there, so sweetly. So that's a bit tricky. But yeah, I think I got a bit of hurdy-gurdy immunity there. So
nice one. Yeah, that, I think it's just fun to think about, because it adds another layer to the different worlds of dance music that we have just in this trio section. So you might have your street musician playing the hurdy-gurdy, maybe that outside, and you're inside. Mm-hmm. And then you have your middle-class people waltzing while someone's playing the piano. Or maybe they're at a waltz lesson even, and that's why they're messing up the steps. And Hungarian folk musicians pass by the window and you hear that lo stesso tempo section. So it's like, yeah, it's just not just a medley of tunes, but a medley of worlds, layers of music. And functions.
I absolutely adore this idea, and I think it's sort of grist to the mill of the sort of exerting the Viennese metropolitan soundscape and all of its various sort of musical hierarchies and so on. I've done a bit of research myself on a sort of popular street cultures of this period, and particularly as they're represented musically, which is sort of much less rare than you would think, given that, especially toward the end of the Napoleonic Wars and after, we have the burgeoning of a whole new kind of public culture, which is then remediated in printed documents and sort of new, really huge print culture in brand new ways. And actually, there's a slew of publications depicting public events, very important ones towards the end of the Napoleonic Wars, or just simply, local festivals or surprising events like, a cathedral spire being struck by lightning, which produce, piano pieces for people to take home as souvenirs with really interesting frontispieces. And pretty much all of them, I've noticed, feature hurdy-gurdy. So this is from a piece by Diabelli, and it's commemorating a particular event toward the end, right at the end of the Napoleonic Wars, and it just does sort of this crazy potpourri of tunes, very descriptive. It tells you in the score exactly what's happening at every moment, whether the emperor appears or there's cavalry going past, and you'll see at the top here it says ein ländlicher Leiersmann mischt sich in die frohen Reihen. A peasant hurdy-gurdy man mixes with the happy rows of people. And you can see in the left hand there that you've got something which, if it weren't described as such in the score, probably your highly informed musicologist nowadays would describe it as a musette, because it has a drone, right? This thing, how does it go? So producing exactly the same kind of hurdy-gurdy effect that you can hear in the Beethoven quartet, but here sort of marked as such, and of course explicitly trying to represent the performance of a hurdy-gurdy player on the street.